What's up, everybody? It's Luke James, not the singer. If you're looking to get your music reviewed, you can hit up this email that's right here. But right now, you are tuned into another episode of The Archives where I take a look at some of my favorite albums from the past. We're not going to do any rating system here because this is just all about the reminiscing and appreciation. And this time around, we are going to focus on the 1992 solo debut from Dr. Dre called The Chronic. This one is an all-out G-Funk classic. It's considered by many to be one of the greatest hip-hop albums of all time. So I'm really happy to jump into this one. And if I'm being honest with you, we don't need to do a big introduction to Dr. Dre. We all know who he is because he's been heavy in the game for decade after decade after decade, but we can run down a couple of things that he's accomplished in his career very quickly. So we know he's a near billionaire who's achieved success as a solo rapper and producer. He was a member of NWA, also the discoverer of Eminem, who went on to do a lot of great things, obviously, and he was even a headphone creator with the Beats headphones, among other things. So Dr. Dre's really been involved in a lot of things. He's made a lot of money, and he's very respected in the game. With this album, though, this is the one that really showcases his ability as a solo artist, not just in front of the mic, but also behind the boards, because he did do some of the writing and producing here. Although one thing we do know about Dr. Dre, he brings a lot of other people into the mix to help him figure things out. That's not something that I hate on personally, because I get it. He's orchestrating everything and bringing people in to help. And hey man, it resulted in this album right here, which is absolute fire. So for a couple of examples of what I'm talking about, we all know the rapper, the DOC, helped co-write a bunch of these songs. We also have Colin Wolfe, who is a multi-instrumentalist and writer who put a lot of input into this album. We could spend all day breaking down who did what on each song because so many people are involved, but we're not going to do that. We're just going to throw out some of these names there just to let you know who really helped make this happen, because it is important to know that when we look at history. But if you want to know more, you can certainly dig through Wikipedia pages and interviews, because this dropped so long ago that all that information is out there. I just think it's really dope how Dr. Dre brought all these people together to create this album, and it came out so dope. But we are going to jump right into the songs on here, starting with the lead single, Nothing But a G-Thang. This is an all-out classic, man. I remember listening to this when I was 8 years old back in 92, just playing it over and over and over and learning the lyrics and loving that G-Funk sound with that classic Moog synth, you know what I mean? That high-pitched wail, the groovy bass line, and you're getting so much chemistry from Dr. Dre and Snoop on this one. They're spitting those braggadocious bars flowing off of each other, just delivering some really smooth flows. If you came up back then, you probably know every word of the song, whether you realize it or not. It's one of those songs that when it comes on, you're just going through the rhymes in your head because you've heard it so many times, you know it's dope. It is a classic. And we do have a couple of other West Coast classics on this album as well. I mean, the album as a whole is a West Coast classic, but I think the other singles were really dope too. So we got Fuck With Dre Day and Let Me Ride. Fuck With Dre Day once again showcases that chemistry between Snoop and Dre as they're firing off shots at everybody, and on the outro they're telling them all to eat a big fat dick. So you're going to hear shots at Eazy-E, Ice Cube, Uncle Luke, and Tim Dog. And this song is also the first time I ever heard the word bootylicious. We all think of Destiny's Child when we hear that now, but on this one, Snoop is talking about how someone's rhymes were bootylicious. So I guess in the rhyming sense, that's a bad thing, but in the Destiny's Child sense, it's a good thing, because they're saying they're all thick, like Carmen Hayes, or Ariana Adin, or Korea Mia, or whoever you're into, you know what I mean? There's all kinds of them out there. Or is it Kiera Mia? Whatever. Either way, she is thick. And to this day, in 2020, Let Me Ride is still a top-down summertime classic. Or if you can't put the top down because you're a washed-up father like me driving a minivan, it still goes hard for those sunny days. Again, you're getting that classic West Coast sound with the high-pitched synth work. You're also getting some flute on this that is absolutely beautiful. You're going to hear a lot of flutes throughout this project, actually, on some of the other songs. And I just love the combination of those instruments on this production, man. I can't stress enough how dope this production is, because after 30 years, this shit still holds up, man. Like, when I go back and listen to this as I was working on this review, I didn't feel like, wow, this shit just sounds really old and outdated. I mean, there's stuff that came out 5 to 10 years ago that just sounds outdated and wonky and cheap, but that is not the case here. Just even the mixing and mastering of this, also buttery smooth. Everything came together really well here, and I like pretty much every song on here, including the song D's Nuts. This one, once again, is hitting us with some bass that is just thicker than Mary Jean. This is a heavy joint. I love this one. And of course, this is where we got that classic joke, D's Nuts. I don't know if that came from something else, but I'm pretty sure this is the first place that I've heard it. Then we went on to hear it on Chappelle's show. I'm sure we've pulled the D's Nuts joke on plenty of people. I know I have anyway. You guys probably did at some point too. And you're also getting that iconic outro from Nate Dogg on here when he says, I heard you want to fuck with Dre. You picked the wrong motherfucking day. Love that part from Nate Dogg. That might have been one of the first things I heard from Nate Dogg, actually, now that I'm looking back, because obviously I heard him more on Snoop Dogg's album, working with Warren G as well. But Nate Dogg, rest in peace. One of the GOATs, definitely made his stamp on this album with that outro right there. You're also getting a bit of a tie-in to the song Fuck With Dre Day with the shit that he's singing on that outro. And while I've mostly focused on the production side of things here, there are certainly some memorable moments with the bars as well. I already spoke on some of those beefs and just how that lets you know what was going on in hip-hop at that time back in the early 90s. A lot of shots were being fired between people, so you're going to pick up on some of that stuff right there. And you're going to get more of that on the song Bitches Ain't Shit. That opening verse from Dre is aimed directly at Eazy-E, where he's basically calling him a bitch because of all the bullshit they went through back in the NWA days. So you're getting more of that beef right there. And of course, this is a song that hit us with that classic Toxic chorus, bitches ain't shit but hoes and tricks, lick on these nuts and suck the dick. Very romantic stuff right there. Spread the rose petals and fill your bathtub, because that's how they were doing it back in the 90s. And keeping with the theme of what was going on in the 90s, you're actually going to get some social commentary here in regards to the Rodney King police beating that was caught on tape way back in 1992. I believe it was in April. Yes, that's when the LA riots were happening. So the song The Day the Niggas Took Over really gets into this, man. They're rapping about the rioting, the looting, just being fed up with the police because of shit that was going on. You got Dre, Daz, Snoop, and RBX absolutely tearing shit up on this one. It also has a little bit of a horror movie / eerie, spooky feel to the production, in my opinion. And the song Lil Ghetto Boy has Snoop and Dre spinning some very vivid stories. A little bit about the streets, being in prison, those sorts of ideas. Really a dope track lyrically, I thought. And Katis Buckingham is absolutely snapping on that flute work, man. Again, I can't stress enough how many great people came together to give us this great classic body of work, man. Shout out to everybody that was involved. We'd be all day breaking it down. But to keep things moving forward, even when Dr. Dre wasn't spitting on a track, we were still getting some really good joints. For example, the song Lyrical Gangbang borrows heavy drums from Led Zeppelin's song When the Levee Breaks. Thought those were some pretty dope drums on there. You got Lady of Rage, Corrupt, and RBX holding it down. And as I said, Dr. Dre's not rapping on this one, but I thought the verses from everyone involved were really dope. But Corrupt sounds so different on this album. When you listen to his verses on here, especially on Stranded on Death Row as well, where it's Corrupt, the Lady of Rage, and Snoop holding it down, Bushwick Bill on the intro as well. Corrupt just sounds so different on both of these songs. Like when you listen to him in later years, even on Snoop Dogg's album, he has much more bite to his flow. He's got a much more unique style. So he certainly crafted that as the years went on. And I did appreciate on Stranded on Death Row when he references Rawhead Rex. That is a horror classic that I don't think enough people talked about. I believe Clive Barker was behind that one. Definitely something you want to check out if you like cheesy monster flicks. Now to wrap up some of the other tracks here, we have High Powered. This is one of the album's shorter joints. You just get an RBX verse here that, based on what I read, he apparently woke up, threw that shit together in minutes and jumped in the booth to deliver it. RBX is kind of a West Coast legend, you know, always has a unique flow, delivery style. I've heard him do some pretty crazy things with his voice in later years as well, so shout out to RBX. And you're gonna get some hardcore gangster shit, of course. You got A Nigga With a Gun. This is a grimy, murderous track where Dre is sticking them up and just working all kinds of artillery from GATs to AK-47s. Rat Tat 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 is another menacing joint with slinky guitar that sounds like something out of a spy movie, and that classic line from Snoop when he says, "I never hesitate to put a nigga on his back," which was once again used on Snoop's single, What's My Name? So you're getting a lot of interesting stuff happening here. You're getting all that beef that I talked about, you're getting the gangster shit, a little bit of social commentary. I just feel like this album really gives you a picture of the early 90s scene, not just in hip-hop, but also what was going on in the world, as they did touch on the LA riots. So that's another thing that I think makes an album a classic, is when you look back at it, you listen through the lyrics, and it really does give you a portrait of what was happening during that era. So this album to me, man, is incredibly dope. But other than that, you get the track called The Roach. This is the outro, even though it's not even the last song, because Bitches Ain't Shit is actually the last song, but they still called it the outro. Just a very funky instrumental with some singing and shit talking. I thought it was pretty cool. And you get those hilarious skits too, with $20 sack pyramid, where contestants are playing the game for a 20 sack, and the doctor's office where Dre is slanging pipe by appointment, man. Back in the 90s, you always had some grimy, dirty, filthy, vulgar skits. That was just part of the game, and it was no different on The Chronic. So that's all I have to say about this one, man. I'm sure I messed something up somewhere or missed something. It is just hard to break down such a classic historical album in this amount of time, you know? I try to keep it somewhat prompt, to the point, talk about the things that I liked about it, new things I picked up on, etc., etc. But by all means, feel free down in the comments section to let me know what I may have missed. Let me know what your favorite parts of this album were. If I made a mistake, of course, let me know that, because shit does happen once in a while. But that's The Chronic, man. This is a West Coast classic, a G-Funk classic. It helped pave the way for so many more great albums. I think this is one of those albums that really helped me fall in love with hip-hop, especially the West Coast sound. So just let me know down below what you feel about this one in general, man. I'm excited to talk about it. We are going to do more archives reviews coming up. I got a big list of albums from the 90s and early 2000s that I want to talk about, because frankly, a lot of the new rap that comes out, I'm just not interested in. I still will be reviewing artists that I care about, or the big drops that everybody's talking about for the most part, but I want to focus on the archives, underground shit, stuff that I actually want to talk about. So there you have it, man. Hit me up in the comment section. I think I said that 3 or 4 times now, so fucking do it. Don't make me tell you again. And of course, make sure you do that good YouTube and social media stuff where you show me love and you show me lots of it. Thank you for watching, everybody. I will see you next time.